Captains of Industry, brought to you by Airtel.
When you say Jim Ovia, it has resonance all across Nigeria, and everybody associates you with one thing, Zenith Bank. Has it been difficult stepping down?
Stepping down from Zenith Bank was a very, very big blessing for me, really, because it afforded me tremendous opportunity to do so many other things that I couldn't possibly do when I was a CEO of Zenith Bank. Having run Zenith Bank for 20 years really in Africa is quite a long time to be in one institution. If you also then consider the fact that the mortality rate in the banking industry when we started was very high, almost more than 50% of the banks that started at the same time with us had all vanished. There were no ATM machines at all. There were no credit cards. There were no debit cards. There were no local area networks. So which meant things were pretty rudimentary in 1990. But you could cast your mind back and compare then in 1990 to where we are today, 2011. See, tremendous changes. Landscape of Nigerian banking have changed tremendously. Now, today, we're talking about having grown the bank from a mere $4 million shareholders funds then, or equity, to $3 billion US. Dramatic change. What had happened then, the economy had also grown tremendously also. And what had also happened, technology. Nigeria had also leapfrogged from mere rudimentary ways of doing things in terms of banking to the fact that today we could compare, Nigerian banks could compare with some of the best in the world in terms of deployment of services, in terms of deployment of infrastructure, in terms of, if you're talking about customer service excellence, Nigerian banks could rank very tops.
Many skeptics look at your stepping down as something premature for you, as something that had to happen because of new CBN guidelines. From where you're standing, was it the right time for you to step down?
The Zenith Bank was exactly 20 years, July 2010. And I knew I would have to retire on my own volition without being prompted by central bank regulations or policies. And for me, I would have still had to step down. I would have still had to retire. Because it would then afford me tremendous opportunity to do so many other things that I wouldn't have been able to do if I had remained as banking CEO. And it's also good to give the opportunity to the younger generations. And because younger generations have tremendous opportunity in view of the fact that they have more access to information now. There's a great deal of research they have to do. Considering our time, we had no access to information. They have access to information. Technology have improved tremendously, and we thought the younger people should be able to do it now and do it probably better than us.
What do you make of the so-called Sanusi Tsunami, as they call it here?
Now, my view in that regard is a matter of timing. What had happened in the Nigerian banking industry in 2008, 2009 was truly prompted not by Nigerian environmental factors or by any particular regulator. It was prompted by the collapse of Lehman Brothers in September, October 2008, then which led to global financial crisis. Of course, it's part of history now. The global financial crisis that affected almost all economies of the world, all the major world economies. So many banks failed in Europe. So many banks failed in the United States, not just in Nigeria. In fact, in Nigeria, no single bank even failed as a result of global financial crisis. So which meant that the activities of central bank was a very welcome thing. Were it not that central bank intervened in the way they did, maybe a number of banks in Nigeria would have also failed. So it was a very welcome idea that there was a banking reform, because what had then happened is the stability in the banking industry. There's more confidence in the banking industry. Banks are now stronger. Banks are now more solid, and banks can do more quality loans. And it's also a very good way to even caution the banks too. There's better corporate governance issues have now been introduced, which really many people never really cared for.
When I asked you about the story of Zenith Bank, you were very quick to tell me the story of the innovation of Zenith Bank, which I suppose speaks to your love and passion for ICT, because you're also known for that, Visa Phone and other initiatives in that space. What spurred that love for technology?
Now, I have always known from reading the first set of books of Bill Gates, and of course Bill Gates, who invented, he and his colleague Paul Allen, the Microsoft empire. And the title of the book was The Building of the Microsoft Empire.
Yeah.
And eventually, Bill Gates' business at the speed of thought. You would then see that technology is what will rule the future. And in his book, he had predicted that any company, any business that could not innovate, could not embrace technology, will not survive. As you will see today, that almost the top 100 largest companies in the world, or if you will, the Fortune 500 country, more than 50% of them are companies that had innovated.
So what's holding back the digital revolution in Nigeria? I mean, everybody gets excited about the fact that the country has 140 million people. It's a vibrant and critical mass for telecoms. But when you come into the country, you get a sense that something's holding them back. What's holding this country back?
Well, I think Nigeria, as I said at my intro, is a country of tremendous opportunity and again of infinite possibilities. We have a lot of young people here, very talented, very well educated, who are ready to embrace technology, who are ready to embrace whatever the world is doing. They have now access to internet. Tele-density now is about 65%, close to 70%. We have almost 90 million connected lines, even though one person may have 2 mobile phone sets. But the technology is not there and it's available. You go to cyber cafes, you see young students, young people, they spend a lot of time in cyber cafes, downloading material, researching. They could log into some of the best libraries in the world online. And you really see that country that has very large population, very young educated population, they are able to use those technology to do a lot of things in the world. Take, for example, India, China. These are countries, India above 1 billion people. China above 1 billion people. Even though Nigeria is just 140 million, small country compared to China, India, the profile is the same. Very young population, very young educated population. They are ready to embrace technology, and that will also leapfrog Nigeria's economy, to greater heights.
But what's holding them back? I think I'm very concerned about that. I know, for instance, with Visa Phone, you dabbled in the CDMA space apparently, and yet we're seeing the better prospects in GSM. So it seems like a lot of entrepreneurs have the right idea, but the moves that they make tactically seem to not quite fit in this environment. What makes it a complicated environment?
Well, I do not necessarily think Nigeria is complicated. Nigeria probably may have or presently going through what other countries may have gone through, either it's China and India. It's a matter of awareness, either with regard to the fact that the government and government agencies need to be aware the direction of the world economic order. I could recall that in 1995 when I first introduced internet into the country, because we had to set up internet all to ensure that Zenith Bank were able to have had the best website, the very first in 1995. We had installed some dishes, if you will, satellite dishes, if you will, to be able to have a microwave connectivity to satellite to other countries that would donate that would be able to enable us to download and upload material and data from time to time. The government agencies at that time, they never knew what internet was. And I could recall trying to convince some government apparatus and agencies in 1995, and I needed to explain over and over again what internet meant at that time. Whereas in the same 1995, and both China and India, that was even the year they started to blossom their internet technology. So if we had leapfrogged at that point in time and embraced it as not just the private sector and government agencies, we would have probably be maybe where China is today or where India is in terms of technology. But we're getting there pretty fast. But now government today, they are fully aware, they are embracing technology, they are embracing information and communication technology fully, even probably much faster than most other African countries.